Hello everyone and welcome to round 15 and the final round of Invictus Racing League season 14. Here we are, PC F1 and PC F2, sponsored by Grid Rival, partnered with gridfinder.com. Now, this may be the final round. We may have wrapped up championships early, but this is by no means going to be a boring final race. We've still got plenty of battles up and down the grid. Of course, as we've done before, as we've done times previously, we'll talk standings, we'll talk points, constructors, drivers, how there's still plenty to play for. So don't go anywhere. Of course, lend us your predictions in the chat. We'd love to hear what you think, if there's going to be any surprises during this final round in Silverstone. But without further ado, let's waste no time. Let's talk drivers' standings. First, we're going to talk about F1, and then we're going to talk about F2. Now, we have, of course, our clear Drivers' Championship winner, Emir Djurikovic, in the Mercedes. As they have a very strong lead. They are competing tonight, so whether we will see another dominant performance has yet to be seen. Keep in mind, they did have a little bit of an issue last time in the Hungaroring. They did end up spinning out, losing themselves to the rage a little bit during the end of the race. So hopefully we shouldn't see too many upsets, but we should see plenty of drama still. Yes, I am Forza Sweat to answer your question. Following up, we had to say Lenny with a standout win. Say a very consistent driver throughout the league so far, bar a couple hiccups, had consistent podiums, consistent high finishes, and maybe we'll see a bit more of that here. It has been a tale of two drivers, at least at the top of the standings. But the battle I'm concerned with is third and fourth in the F1 league between Joshua and Cameron, AlphaTauri McLaren. 1 point between the two drivers. So who gets third in the drivers' standings is going to be decided tonight. And especially if we see a standout performance from someone like Gas in the Aston Martin, it's certainly no short of excitement. But going down the rest of the grid, to say we have Liam in the second, AlphaTauri 6th place, still has a fighting chance to potentially make up some positions, and then dropping down, to say we have almost a progression of drivers. So you have Red Bulls, Mercedes, Alfa Romeos. It's all a very big mix. And to say, one thing I am looking forward to is the Williams team again. Hopefully they convert some strong performances into a win, into a podium. We saw that flash in the pan with Flyboy. Rin has also been extremely fast. Hopefully we see something like a podium from Rin. That would be a brilliant cap, a brilliant send-off to season 14 here at the PC Leagues. Now let's talk constructors quickly before we move on to F2. But I do want to take some notes and say Scotty, I know Scotty is in the chat. Before we get to the constructors, Scotty is talking about getting a free ride, but there is still plenty of driving to play for in F2, and we'll talk about that in a second. Now, constructors wise, of course, we had the bottling, the McLaren bottling of China, and that still looms over them. It is 20 points in it, so potentially, if we see a big mistake from the Mercedes team and the McLarens capitalize, they could still technically take the Constructors' Championship. It's difficult, but not impossible. So we might see some upset. Who knows? But it's a very strong battle near the top of the field and also near the bottom of the field. As I say, as the Williams team might be chasing up on the Alfa Romeos and trying to get 6th place in the Constructors. But looking over to F2, so of course we have Alessio, who has not attended the previous 2 rounds, but has already rounded off the Drivers' Championship, so very well done to them. And then we have Scotty and Kent, both in the McLarens, doing very well for themselves. And say Scotty doing very well performance-wise, and every race bar one, in fact, similar to Alessio, every race bar one, they have finished in a podium position. So very well done there. We've seen a very good level of consistency from drivers throughout, say, the entire season. We've seen some definite winners, we've seen some losers, and some drivers who have really started to come into their own as time has gone on. but this is where it all gets decided. I'm seeing some predictions of McLaren bottling again. Hopefully we don't see that, but it's certainly made for some interesting drama previous rounds. Definitely made for some interesting drama. But looking over to the F2 constructor standings, where it's a different story. So we had previously, we had Red Bull in a very good position, and then at the last minute, the last few rounds, McLaren have absolutely swooped in and almost completely swept the constructors. So just like in the F1 League, we have P1 20 points ahead of P2, and I'm not sure in Red Bull's case if they can pull it back here, because we'd love to see it. We'd love to see our drivers champion giving it some final gusto. He's attending, but the McLarens really pulled a standout performance in the last few rounds. You can see just the deficit points between the two teams. Say 20 to 15, 28 to 0. That was a big one. At least one McLaren team managed to fully capitalize on the leader's absence. At least one McLaren team managed to fully capitalize and make the most of the opportunity. And then same goes for the Hungaroring. 16 points back to the Hungaroring to Red Bull 0 meant that they extended their lead to 20 points in the constructors. And we will see a fair chunk of F1 and F2 drivers battling it out on track. Again, for those who are not aware, we run a combination format. We have done for the past couple of races. And essentially it is like a multi-class race at Le Mans. We have the F1 and F2 lobbies together, but they are still very much in their own races. So if I talk about P1s and P2s, and seem like I'm repeating myself, that is because we're talking about P1s and P2s of the different classes. But here we go. With that all being said, I'm glad that we got some predictions in the chat, so it's good to see everyone. I'm looking forward to this. We are just about to head into qualifying. But I'm excited. I am not sure if you can tell, but I'm feeling animated. So it's the finale of the season. It's a magical feeling, almost. It's that coming to the end. So it's the culmination of every driver's effort, every little win, every little podium. It all comes together. It all comes down to this moment. And even if you aren't fighting at the top of the field, you still have those little wins here and there. If you're like a midfield team and you get a podium, you're a happy bunny, and you celebrate those wins. And eventually it all comes together when it counts, when you come to the end of the season and you look at yourself on the standings and realize just how well you actually did. And before we do get into qualifying, I do just want to say to all of the drivers, whether you were with the league from the start, whether you joined the league halfway, whether you left the league halfway, I wanted to give some love to all of the drivers who competed in Season 14, both PS, PC, F1, F2, F3, realistic performance, all of them. They all deserve some love, because at the end of the day, it is a confidence thing. It is difficult to join a league, put yourself outside your comfort zone, put yourself in that competitive environment, and it does deserve some recognition. So as we head into qualifying now, I wanted to give some love to all of the drivers involved with Invictus Racing League. But with that all being said, let's head into the racing. So we're just setting up for qualifying now. So I'll be commentator Sappytron for the race today. I'm a commentator for F1 and also for Forza Horizon and soon to be Forza Motorsport and Project Cars. So be sure to follow me on Twitch if you are interested. But let's get ourselves all set up and let's get ourselves some good qualifying in. And of course, if you do want to get involved with the teams, in social media, then you can always use the hashtag. VictusRL and tag us. Be sure to tag us, and then you say we've got multiple accounts: PC, PS. I'm just seeing in the chat say McLaren bottle, like Jeannie said. Now play the bruh sound effect. We'll save it. We'll save it for some magic moments. Here we go, as we start to see some drivers coming out on their outlaps. Say first off Callum, who has taken the spot of the Alfa Romeo for this race. Say no Yes Lad to be seen in the F1 League, which could be a potential big opportunity for a team like Williams. You can see as we head through, say, just heading down the back straight through the third sector. A little bit of bumpiness, but we're definitely going to see some insane speeds heading through. And one to be concerned about definitely will be tyre wear. I do worry for these drivers. The Silverstone circuit, as great of a circuit as it is, there always has been one Achilles heel with this track, and it has been the tyre wear, particularly on the front left. I say we all remember Grand Prix of the past, tyres getting blowouts left, right and centre. So hopefully drivers manage their tyres effectively in the races, and we will see how we go. But so sticking here with Callum, looking pretty clean, pretty good so far. So as we take a look at some of the lines, as it's a pretty wide line. Not the most optimal from Callum there. It's a little bit shaky also. So there we go, Callum is going to go around and say essentially set the pace as the first car out of the session. You can see on the map everyone is heading out now, looking to set some bankers as we get qualifying underway. Is coming up to 200 miles an hour in these cars. Shows how much pace they are really carrying, although a little bit too much speed in Callum's case. Doesn't quite hit the apex coming out the back straight. They don't call him the Cameron tire saving CL for nothing. Well, let's put that to the test here in Silverstone, the ultimate test of tire conservation. It's a 128.48 from Callum. First driver to set the pace here in the session. Looking here though, Zayden, looks like next one up, and taking a quick peek, it's going to be the Ferrari, looking very good, pretty strong on pace thus far. We've got Joshua coming through, about to set the lap and set the pace for the F1 League. It's going to be a 126.9, really showing you some of the gap between the two leagues, pushing that car to the absolute limits. Is a very good lap there. So we've got Byrus coming in with a 128 flat. So you've got what looks like Scotty with an invalidation. Doesn't look to be setting a time on the board. Liam also coming in with an invalidation. Doesn't set a time on the board either. So yellow flags occasionally popping in and out. Drivers choosing to yield. A lot of invalidations. We're not seeing many laps actually being posted. So you're looking at drivers like Coop. Oh, there we go. So Jasper, next one to set a time, a 1:41. Not a good time necessarily, but at least it's a time on the board. Puts them ahead of the non-setters. Lenny's coming in with a 1:29.1. It's looking very good there. Owen is going to come through with a 1:28.1. So here we are coming through the back of the circuit here. See, Nicolet's not going to come through and set a time. We're seeing a lot of drivers, I mean, immediately just coming through. And first lap, first corner, invalidating their time. I think we're going to see a lot of track limits warnings throughout both the qualifying and the race. Drivers testing the limits, not really understanding where the edge of the track lies. Here you go, Scotty's coming through. They may have an invalid lap, say 1:31.3. Doesn't look quite on the pace either. Cass is going to come in with a 1:26.9 as well, in with a 1:27.3, and it's looking very strong, at least for the F1 League so far. F2 not quite doing so hot at least at this stage. Looks like Jasper has just come in and set a time 127.2. Lenny's going to come in with 126.8. That's brilliantly done from the McLaren there. Just edging the pace forward ever so slowly. We're coming up to the halfway point in qualifying. I don't think we've seen the peak pace as of yet by any stretch. However, we will be seeing that pace drop lower and lower for both leagues. So don't go anywhere. Okay. Checking on Nikolai's pace, as they're not going to be locking in a lap, but it's going to be a 128.2, so decent pace for F2 League. Hopefully they can carry that pace through, not push the edge too much. Already kept it clean through the first corner, which was their flashpoint previously. And Scotty coming through Sector 3, 104 thus far. Despite talking a big game, they have yet to set a lap in that Haas of theirs. So as we come through final corner, what time are they looking to set? It's going to be a 128.5. So currently bottom of the board, but only room to improve from here. Looks like they're keeping that momentum going through for another flyer. So Liam coming through there, but not setting a new time. A lot of drivers coming into the pits now. This is about the midway point of qualifying. Everyone is pitting in. Going to be hopping in with the Drivers' Championship leader then of the F1 League. So Amir, as we come through on the outlap, we're going to hang on with them as we just see how the Drivers' Champion thus far does it. And we can really compare, looking back at some of the F2 drivers, some of the other drivers on track, as their teammate Frederick joins the fray just behind them. You can see just how hard they're clipping the apexes, really trying to optimize the line. Not so much there, but definitely leading up to that point. Coming right to the edge of track limits, but not exceeding. And I think that is a testament to all of the drivers. If you can nail the apex, say, as been done there, we saw the early run from Callum and how they were missing the apex. By comparison, Amir taking a much tighter line. And I think the testament to a good driver is just how tightly you can really pack it into the apex and carry as much speed as you can. Almost looked a little bit oversteery there from that Mercedes. As we take it through, so carrying a good amount of speed, getting a little bit on the grass, but holding it together otherwise. But it's gonna be, looks like they overextended just a little bit on that grass because the map has turned red. It's gonna be a violation. And while they are not gonna set a lap here, let's see just what the benchmark is. I'm going to say, give ourselves a taster of what's to come. It's a 126.3, a full half second clear of the McLaren. So far looking good, but it looks like they've set another dirty, and you can tell because they're slowed right down, yielding to the Aston Martin of Cass there. In fact, we are going to stick along with them and see how they do. Taking a very good line through the first sector. Coming through, so it's going to be a Sam with a 128.2. Now for Romeo, it's looking good. Going to set the fastest first sector in that Aston Martin. Cat is doing very well for themselves right now. And heading into P2 here. Joshua's about to come in and set probably their fastest time. Oh, that's good. The map is red. It's an invalidation. Unfortunate. It's not going to be the one, but they're going to keep pushing. They're going to keep going through and trying to see what they can accomplish here. So coming through, Byrus is going to be setting a 127.9. That's going to not put them up in the grid. They're just short of Coop by 5 thousandths of a second, 5 milliseconds, but it's very close. And you can tell because that determination to keep going, Boris has kept going around the track, setting themselves up for potentially another flyer heading through here. Cat's going to come across the line. It's not going to be an improvement. It's going to be a 127.002. Not quite going to be enough. We've got Frederick coming through with a 126.966. It's a very good pace from the second Mercedes. It's very nicely done there. Looks like Frederick is going back in for fresh tyres. So after the failed attempt, they're going to be going for some freshers, despite being one of the last drivers yet to set a lap. And I think, in fact, they are the only F1 League driver to not set a lap at this point in qualifying. So we see 1 Alfa Romeo head into the pits. Going to hop on with Scotty here, seemingly our F2 lead. Going to see what kind of pace they pull out as we head through. They're 128.5. Are they going to keep the run going? They're trying to maximize every inch of the track. I'm doing the right thing, staying out of the way of a driver on the fly, not obstructing. It's a little bit wide, but tightens up very nicely, heading through a second sector. Almost widens out, carries the speed through to the GP start. Oh, and what's happened here? So just looking over, looks like Coop had a big off because they were stuck in the start-finish corner. It looks like they were just sitting there on the map. Not really sure what happened there. Bit curious. But there we go. So second Alpine is coming into pit. Cameron is on a flyer. Not sure. Is it going to be an improvement? So we head through. It's going to be a bigger deficit. It's not quite going to be what we're looking for. Maybe had a mistake in sector 3. Unfortunate, but they're still in a good position. They got 127 flat on the board. They're a couple tenths clear of Jasper. They're in good stead, and if they can keep this momentum going, they can potentially pass a few drivers. It's only a tenth between them and the rest of the field, but Liam is going to come in with a 126.777, almost as in a sign of luck. Mats is going to come in the second Red Bull with a 127.652. Suddenly we're seeing this pace jump up. We have 4 minutes, 4:20 left in qualifying. Nice. And we have 2 drivers yet to set a lap. We have Nikolaites in the Alpine, who looks like they're prepping themselves for a final lap. No, they are not. They're going into the pits. They are running out of time. There's only so much time left. They need to set a lap, or they're going to be at the back of the grid. So here we go, coming through our current quali leader, Liam. So looking good. Carrying a good amount of speed, extends onto the grass. No, it's going to be too much. That's going to be too much grass, too much of an in-cut. Unfortunate for the AlphaTauri there. As we see the majority of drivers heading into the pits now, getting the last set of compounds to really push and go for a final fly and make the most of the quali time. Everyone is coming in at this stage. The track is practically clear. You see everyone peeling in there, slowing right down for the pit entry. There you go. In the interim, however, we have got, say, Joshua, currently P3. The AlphaTauris doing exceptionally well so far on the timesheets. They've locked P1 and P3, at least for now. We have 3 minutes left in qualifying. Our Drivers' Championship leader for F1 has yet to set a time. Scotty in the Haas. It looks like they're struggling a little bit to get some good time down. They've had a few track limits violations, so is the rest of the field at this point. Struggling to negotiate the limits and negotiate how to optimize for the circuit. But Joshua's doing very well. It's the fastest Sector 1 so far. Can they keep this momentum up? It's looking very good for them. But you can see right there on the in-cut just how much drivers are willing to take to optimize and how much they're willing to risk a track violation. So yeah, as we head through second sector, is looking good. Yes, my bad pronunciation aside, both Joshua and Liam are doing very well in that junior team suit. And while it isn't a fastest sector 2, it looks like to Carrington. No, That looked very scary on the broadcast cam. That looked like a big extend, but it's still legal. We come to the final corner. What pace are we going to see from the AlphaTauri? It's going to be 126.9. It's not going to be an improvement. It's not going to be an improvement in terms of position for the second AlphaTauri. But who is on track now? And looks like they're finally setting a lap. It's going to be Amir in that Mercedes. We potentially might be seeing Bashi pole, but looks like someone in the Silver Arrows is looking to disarm that dream and disarm it quickly. We've got 1 minute left. They have 1 minute to make it round the track. No mistakes and they will get a second run in. See all the drivers starting to bunch up ahead. Will it be obstructed? Let's see. Yeah, so that's the Red Bull dipping out of the way. Let's see that Mercedes just chasing them down. Big Coupe dipping out of the way also. Alright, highest speed trap, 198 miles an hour on the back straight. Yes, the meta has indeed changed. I don't know if we're going to see a commentator's curse so much as a commenter's curse. We're coming up to the last corner. What time is there going to be set? It's a 126.1 from Emir, and that is pole. We have 10 seconds left on the clock. Is anyone going to try and challenge that? You can see everyone's rolling in now. Joshua's left the session. We have the final timer, the final finish timer coming down now. Sam looks like 128.2, bottom of the grid. Nikolai's only driver left to set a time coming through the second sector. They need to safe. They need to drive a safe lap here. So it's almost in the 125 for Amir, which is ridiculous considering that they are 6/10 clear of the rest of the field at this point. Cass coming through here, coming in. The Aston Martin is going to be a 126.6. That's going to put them P2 in the standings. Lenny's going to come in with a P3. Cameron's going to come in with a P4, 126.6, 126.7. Just how tightly packed those four positions are on the grid is a mystery to me. But we can see everyone is coming in for their last sweeps and trying to lock in as best a time they can. Scotty's going to be locked in P11, 127.7. Liam coming through now is going to be a 126.788. Is not going to be an improvement. 11 milliseconds short. Last few drivers on the track now. Coupe's going to come in with a 127.4. It's going to put themselves P9. A very good improvement from their previous position. Nowhere near as much contesting with the F2 grid as they were previously, and that is going to be qualifying finalized. And what a qualifying was. Cool. Here are your standings, ladies and gentlemen. Big standouts include, say, Amir with a blistering 126.1, a full half second ahead of the next driver, Cass in the Aston Martin. P3 and P4 go to McLaren. AlphaTauri taking P5 and P7, P6 taking Mercedes in the middle. And then coming onto the F2 leagues, we have, looking further down, say Scotty doing very well in that Haas, as well as drivers like Owen and Nikolai, so say posting very good times. And unfortunately, the pole was disarmed. No Bashi pole, I'm afraid. It was disarmed, but that is your qualifying, and in fact that is a very good point to mention. It's only a single millisecond separates Scotty and Owen. Don't worry, I know you. A single millisecond. Now that must be brutal. That really must be brutal as a driver. And looks like it's an overcast race here in Silverstone. Are we going to potentially see some track variation? Are we going to see the wet weather kick in, potentially? Now, that must be a kick in the teeth as a driver, I'll be honest. You are so close to the next position, and it is literally a hair's breadth away. That must be a real kick in the teeth. Or a driving force to push you forward. You tell me. I don't know your mindset. I'm just speaking on my personal experience. But as we have qualifying wrapped and we are about to get the formation lap underway. It would be a good time to say to everyone at this point, to all the viewers watching, thank you for sticking it with us up to this point. It has truly been a pleasure. If you haven't already considered it, be sure to check out our social medias. They're primarily our Twitter, as well as our website. If you do end up interacting with us on Twitter, use the hashtag InvictusRL, and we'll be sure to get back to you on that. But as our timer comes in for the formation lap and for the racing to get underway for the last time in season 14. So we are at the final round. To anyone new in chat, just joining us, or anyone who has stuck it here since qualifying or since from the very beginning, a massive thank you goes out to you all for being here and sticking with us. And there we are. We are about to get underway. We're going to see some different strategies potentially if the weather changes. My sound is not working. There we go. Apologies for that. And for, if anyone those are interested, say my name is Sappytron. I've been commentator for F1 and also for the Forza and Project Cars 2 scenes. Always pleasure to be here. It's an amazing experience. And Forza is competitive, to answer your question. But I'm definitely curious to see whether we have, well, we have an entire soft grid. Every single driver, we are seeing zero variations in strategy here. Everyone is going to be starting off on the softs. Pit stops, of course, will vary, but I don't think I've seen a race so far in this entire season where everyone has started on the singular tire. That may potentially play some havoc with pit stops, certainly in terms of traffic and releases. But we have yet to see. Well, I would love to hear you rooting for in chat. I'm seeing some predictions. I'm seeing some motivation. Say, pushing for Liam, pushing for Owen, Bashi. Would love to hear your predictions. Whether we'll see a safety car. Also love to know your thoughts in that chat. As we come through now to the starting grid, I almost feel melancholic in saying this, but we roll up to the starting grid for the final time. But here we are as all our drivers get posted up. So last time, let's give it some gusto. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. And away we go for the final time. Let's get this racing underway. It looks like a very wobbly start from Cameron. It's really dropping behind. It's a spin already. It's a spin for Matt. They are right at the back of the grid. What's happened to them? They've already lost a front wing. They've completely bottled it at the start. Looks like Cooper's also completely bottled it. Managed to survive without any damage. Not sure what that start was. So, Boris, we're having some drivers drop in right behind. Already some massive upsets here on the grid. And there we go. Virus looking narrow, trying to get out of Owen's dirty air. So one that's almost got stuck, caught in the crossfire a little bit. Cameron doing very well also to recover from their initial iffy start and quickly reinsert themselves back in the queue. But now they are behind a lot of the rest of the field in F1. Looks like Joshua with a bit of an extend there, potentially losing a little bit of control. Maybe a cold track surface, struggling to get some grip, at least in the early stages. But one that is looking interesting is that Scotty at the moment is really trying to push, really trying to get up to some higher positions in the F2 class. You can see drivers like Cooper Matz really trailing behind, having a really bad start. They are going to have to put on a real recovery drive in order to make it back from this. You can see Amir trailing the rest of the field. As a 131.3 introductory pace, already a second clear of Cass in that Aston Martin. They are already pulling away. They're making full use of the clean air at the early stages of the race, and they're trying to set themselves up for a absolute blitz here by the looks of things. But already we're seeing that Max is going to have to go into the pits to replace that front wing. That is very unfortunate. Coop is managing to keep their car going. Doesn't look like, despite the early bottle, they didn't sustain any damage by the looks of things. They both visually and by their performance as well, they're managing to keep pace relative to the other drivers, which is good. It's good that they didn't sustain any damage. Of course, that's going to be less costly for them. So here we go, hopping on with Frederick here. So trailing behind the AlphaTauri of Liam. So trying to keep the gap. Of course, going to have to fight a little bit with dirty air along with the rest of the field. And you can see them just snaking through. Everyone is pushing in these early stages. They're on the soft tires. They're all matched on pace. They're just trying to make the absolute most of it. So he's going to quickly look up the inside a little bit. It's going to be pretty close quarters. Emir's going to quickly break that pace down to a 129.3. It's looking good for the Mercedes AMG Petronas F1 team. DRS is now enabled. We'll potentially be seeing some passes now, some potential drivers making way. One that I'm looking at to say, also, speaking of drivers stuck behind an AlphaTauri, we have Cameron here, as they, of course, with a bit of a shaky start, but starting to get some separation to the rest of the field now. Going to make them use of the DRS here. And it looks like a pretty good pass. Looks pretty tight to me. You can see looking behind, Joshua's not going to be happy with that. Didn't get the same advantage of DRS because they were out of range of the Mercedes of Frederick. They don't have that advantage to them. And as a result, they lost the position with a very clean overtake heading through Sector 2. What I'm looking for, though, is Cass at the moment is 3/10 behind Lenny and really pushing here and trying to make up pace. But looks like Nikolai's in the Alpine is chasing Scotty down as we speak, as they're struggling a little bit to keep the pace, though, coming through the S's. Going to try and get a good line through. They have DRS. They're going to be going for a move. As you see, quick swing out to the outside. Scotty's going to hang it narrow. Going to have no choice but to concede the position with that speed disadvantage. But we might see them quickly come back on the rebound. And Sam is also looking to take advantage of the situation. Big battle for 12th here. Big battle for the F2 class. Looks like things are going to get spicy from this point out, ladies and gentlemen, for both leagues. Frederick coming through here, so they're going to be tailing Liam. They're going to have the DRS, but also Liam is going to be, so is it going to be much of a move? Cameron is not going to have the DRS behind, so we're going to see this train, this pocket of drivers start to pull away here. It's not going to be as easy as they think, however. Frederick quickly discovering he is not going to have an easy fight by any means. He's really pushing. You can see from the little micro adjustments in his steering and having to overcorrect there that he's pushing. He's really trying to get past that AlphaTauri, and he just doesn't have the space to do it. As hard as he's going, he's still got dirty air to contend with. And also, Liam is just doing a good job of defending. Although it looks like they messed up the line. Frederick's going to quickly come side by side. They both have DRS. It's going to be a drag race heading down the back straight. Liam is going to have to concede by the looks of things. They cannot hold the pace to that Mercedes. That early entry just not doing it for them there. And that is Frederick making up into 4th place. I'm sure Liam will want to retaliate later down the line. Cass is going to come in with a 129.355. They are really pushing at this stage. This Aston Martin has got no signs of giving up yet. Despite all the battles going down the rest of the field, Liam, Sam, Scotty, Cass is one that is trying to push forward and catch up to Amir in that Mercedes, despite not having the DRS, despite having challengers from behind who do have DRS. They're managing to fight them off almost in an effortless motion and is slowly closing the gap to that Mercedes. Although it looks like we're going to a bit of a battle over here, say between Joshua and Cameron. Cameron has finally made it past the AlphaTauri of Joshua here, but with only 2 tenths in it, it looks like there's going to be a little bit of a retaliation. That gap is shrinking and growing, is bouncing back and forth. Are we going to be seeing any overtakes through the S's? It almost looks a little bit like you're stuck behind there, waiting for the DRS on the back straight, because Cameron is not in DRS range of Liam. It's a strategy game. We're going to see a lot of strategic moves, sticking behind drivers where they could be making moves. But Jasper is coming down the backside, taking advantage as well, practically stuck to Joshua's rear in an almost surprise move. I did not see that coming whatsoever. And just like that, it's going to be a double move. It's going to be a double move. Frederick is going to be setting the fresh pace. It's all in the 129.3s. It's very tight, very closely packed in terms of pace at the top echelon of the field. So F2 has started to settle down a little bit, although we did see a little bit of a squabble between Owen and, in fact, Byrus here. Ooh, looks a little bit scary there. Potentially some connection dropping. A little bit of packet loss there. Though we are seeing Owen really start to push here. Byrus is going to hold the inside, however. And looks like a proper back and forth, as that Ferrari is just going to keep the higher average speed. They're going to be drag racing heading to the GP start. So taking a very inside line. Almost looks like they were going to collide from our point of view, but Byrus is going to have the advantage and is going to have no choice but to put the Williams behind them. Although DRS is coming up here, and I'm sure that Owen is going to try and take full advantage of that. It looks like Joshua, though, is dropping behind Jasper. Jasper looks like they had a brilliant move coming down through the back straight in the third sector. We're starting to see a little bit of shifting around here. Starting to see a little bit of shifting around. Amir is going to try and extend their lead back again, setting a 129.1, dropping the fastest lap by 2 tenths here. Cass has actually dropped behind. Despite their previous efforts, they have dropped behind Lenny in that McLaren. And as much as they want to fight, and I'm sure Cass does want to re-secure that position, if they're fighting, they are ultimately losing time to the leader. And with half a second in it, the DRS is not going to be enough in this case, coming through the first sector. In fact, Frederick is going to be peeking up the inside. Cass is going to really try and hug the inside line, keep that silver arrows at bay. Frederick looks like they got really wobbly coming out of the exit there, and that's ultimately what cost them that move. Not getting the exit speed they otherwise would have liked, and now they're in the dirty air. Going to be forced to drop back. So far, some exciting racing, both up and down the field. Hopping in, however, with Joshua as he's chasing down the senior team of Jasper, as they're not really happy with being overtaken there. Is going to be potentially going for a retake. It looks like they've got a good overspeed. They're going to peek up the inside, going to get the move done, really swing it through there. Looks like some very nice driving from the AlphaTauri. That is 6th place, but Jasper is not going to give that up without the fight. They're going to be holding the inside there. It's going to be, again, a little bit of a drag race. Joshua's going to try and get out of their hair. Again, Jasper is immediately going to be on the retake. And looking up further in the field, you can see, just a little POV, Cass and Frederick are battling it out. Cass has seemingly dropped off here. I'm not sure what is going on with them, but from being to just behind Lenny to now dropping behind Frederick, and by a substantial margin, I'm not sure what's going on there with that Aston Martin. They started off extremely strong, and now it looks like things are faring for the worse. I think we might be seeing a little bit of pressure start to creep in. Of course, being the final round, there is going to be pressure. For some drivers, this is all or nothing. You can see the battle for fifth for sixth place. Sorry, the battle for sixth place rages on here. It's just tenths separating these three drivers so far. Jasper is on the attack to the AlphaTauri, so they're going to have DRS along with the McLaren heading through the back straight. They're going to get a brilliant exit and good overspeed. It's going to be an attack on either side. The McLaren is going to dip to the left as well. Both of them are going to get a pretty good move on the AlphaTauri there, but Joshua is going to stick it to at least the McLaren. Going to try and get the switchback with the better exit, get the overspeed, a little bit of contact with the rear of Cameron, and that's not something you want. Luckily, it's not substantial enough to constitute damage, but it's still not a position you want to be in, because now you're going to be disrupting their race. They're having a quick check back at the F2 League, however. So we got Sam chasing down none other than the teammate in the Alfa Romeo of Callum. So Callum getting a little bit wobbly there, not potentially getting the exit they wanted, but both drivers getting DRS. Sam has still got a little bit of overspeed, closing that gap. You can see a little bit of a peak to the inside, but they're not going to get that move quite done. They don't have enough yet. As you swing it around through the GP into the S's, you can see where some drivers are trying to peek around the inside, trying to gauge their potential moves, and just not having the room to. They just don't have the gap in order to be able to do what they want there. There you go, hopping on with the Aston Martin. Back to the F1 League, hopping on with the Aston Martin. Say Cass, what looks like a big drop back for them, potentially a little bit of a mistake. It does seem to be like they're recovering now, although a yellow flag has been deployed at the first sector. Not sure what's going on there. Mats has had a big off. They say they are now over 30 seconds behind, and I'm not sure what's going on with that Red Bull. Seems like they're having problems all throughout. And Scotty as well. I'm wondering what the heck happened to Scotty in all of this. They had what looks to be a really good race, but did they go off the track at some point? We can see Callum heading into the pits now. Oh, I see. In fact, we have a quick look through. Say Scotty, in fact, lost time because they were on a pit stop. And that is a good point. Everyone is on the soft tires. Everyone is really eking out those soft compounds, but this is going to be the point where they start to head in. And surely Emir, who has managed to keep a good level of pace to the rest of the field, is going to be looking at retiring those softs now. You can see with the understeer in the car that they are not quite carrying the pace that they once wanted to. I believe that we'll be seeing, for the majority of the grid at least, a one-stop strategy from softs to mediums, though I don't know if the weather is going to change. You can see opting to head through for a 10th lap here on the soft compounds. You're really stretching the absolute maximum out of them. Looks like no one in the F1 League is yielding just yet. They're going to be pushing those softs as hard as they can go. We're starting to see some of the other leagues splinter off, head into the pits, as they F2, retiring their softs after 9 laps. For the most part, along with Coop at the F1 League, say, stepping at the back currently. Let's say Cameron on the defense from Jasper now. Liam managing to get away from the field by a substantial margin from that battle for 6th. It's now 4 seconds between them and the McLaren. But that battle for 6th place still rages on. These three drivers have been battling for lap upon lap upon lap, and they have not given each other an inch whatsoever, which is really just brilliant racing all around from this cohort of drivers. As you can see him swing through. We're going to take the POV of Joshua here for a second. We're going to see, say, they're eyeing up their potential options throughout the rest of the field. They have dipped behind a little bit, but they are still within DRS range, although taking a little bit too much of the curb did hurt their exit speed significantly. And even with the DRS, it's not enough to catch the gap. You see Jasper stuck behind that McLaren. It's not going to be enough. But heading up to the top of the field now, so we've got one that has made a pretty good start for themselves and is looking to keep some momentum going. Frederick has now dropped behind the Aston Martin and is chasing to get that position back. Although both drivers in the Mercedes doing very well for themselves here. Taking now 11 laps on the soft compound. Really stretching the limits of that rubber. Although managing to keep it in DRS range, Frederick is doing very well, but Cass has seemingly found their flow again because that gap is only growing. Was 6, now 7, 8 tenths. And Cass is surely trying to close in on Lenny's McLaren and make a statement, as that gap between them and the McLaren is now waning. Maybe it's a masterclass of tyre conservation, maybe it's simply just having the better lines and managing the degrading grip. But either way, Cass is on a mission at this stage, and that mission is to catch up to the front of the field. Looking on with Jasper. See, that famous battle for 6th continues to rage on. We're going to see, even with a little bit of a shaky exit, are they going to have the overspeed? Doesn't look like they are. We're seeing a little bit of a concertina effect at this stage. So Jasper is chasing down the McLaren, can't quite make it, has to yield. As a result, Joshua, who is also chasing after, has to yield, and thus the gap remains the same. It's almost like a spring. It compresses, it extends, but ultimately it returns to the same place. But none of these drivers are taking that as a defeat condition. We've seen now, though, pretty much everyone in the F2 League. And what's happened to Callum, though? Callum has had a massive off. Looks like, yep, they have lost their front wing. Looks like they absolutely stacked it in the wall. And they have, in fact, retired from the session. It's not good for the Alfa Romeo there, as yellows are deployed briefly. What a shame. On the final race as well, on the final race, it is a shame to see anyone retire, really. But we are starting to see a lot of track penalties starting to stack up. And it's good that we have not seen any sort of major mishaps, we'll say, on track yet. We had those hiccups at the start, of course, but nothing compared to what we've seen in previous races. I believe our record, and do correct me if I'm wrong, chat, but I do believe our record is 4 safety cars in a single race. And I welcome being corrected on that one. But jumping back to our battle for 6th, Cameron has dropped behind. Jasper finally made the move on the back straight, has now reached ahead, and now they're in the prime position to try and get some distance between 12 and the McLaren / AlphaTauri. It's looking good so far. So the one downside, and you'll see this on the map, is that with all of this group's infighting, they now have a significant gap, 5 seconds in fact, to 5th place. So whatever's going on back here has really dragged them back in terms of overall lapping pace. And I don't know if they're going to be able to recover it in time to gain any more positions. And speaking of said composition at the front, we are looking like we're going to have some interesting F2 racing. We'll check on that in a minute. But we have, of course, I say, to catch you up in the standings, we've just crossed the halfway point of the Grand Prix. In F1, so we have, a yellow in Sector 2. Let's quickly see what's going on there. Mats is again off the track. What is going on with that Red Bull? They seemingly cannot grab the bull's horns and take control, because that is another off for Mats in the F2 there. Although somehow managing to get DRS still, which is rather impressive actually. Surely they must be having a trouble with containing that car, because they've had a couple of offs by this point. Now, having a look at Virus here, however, say chasing Owen down. Ooh, what's happened? Oh, apologies for that. Minor bug there. Game unfocused for no reason, but either way, they're going to have the DRS. Virus is going to be chasing down Owen in that Williams, as we see more time penalties stacking up. And in fact, let's take a look. It looks to be almost the entire F2 grid, say, struggling with the limits and the boundaries of the track, because they have all got a 3-second time penalty for track limits. And even Coupe in the Alpine, which is representing the F1 League, is also struggling. So there we go. One thing I want to bring attention to is the fact that we are now 14 laps in on the soft tires, which is really just no one of these drivers is going to yield. And I think it is just a testament to how good these drivers are. As Cass is chasing down. They've managed to close over 1.5 seconds between themselves and Lenny. They are now right on Lenny's tail. Looks like Cass is unlocking some hidden potential on the end of the soft's life. They're unlocking some really just god-tier pace as they're trying to catch up. Seems like they are now in their element a little bit, but it's starting to rain here on the circuit. I think that may have been a strategy call to eke out those softs for as long as they could before switching to wets. It is now starting to rain here at Silverstone. I can't believe it. We see the overcast skies, but I believe this is the first time we have actually seen the rain kicking in mid-race. It's always been a fixed condition up to this point, and you can see already drivers are reacting to it. Sam is interestingly going in for medium compound. And a few drivers are heading into pit now. Say F1 drivers are starting to head in. Are we going to see anyone else follow? See, the raindrops are starting to fall. This is going to have the DRS. Are they going to make a last-minute move? They have the overspeed, but do they have enough? Lenny's going to go in defensive. Cass is going to have no choice but to yield back. Looks like a little bit of a track extension there, and that's going to be a penalty for the Aston Martin, but they are heading into the pits now. Looks like we're going to start seeing some drivers switching compounds very, very soon, as we are now 16 laps in on those softs, and something has got to give. Cass has made the judgment call potentially to go for the undercut, and is going to be going onto the medium tire. Yeah, we are seeing some definite strategy calls coming into play here. Some judgment calls being made. As Liam is now on the defense from Frederick. Doing very well to tame that AlphaTauri thus far, holding a consistent third place. Frederick, again, having trouble coming out of that double corner. They're having seemingly a lot of trouble keeping the car tamed, and we've in fact seen this a few times, and it may just be attributed to their aggressive driving style, but that second Mercedes looks like a little bit more of an animal to handle than the first. And even with, say, 7/10, that's not going to be enough to get the pace back up on DRS here. But looking back now, we have Owen, so having a quick peek at the F2 League. Say Owen trying to chase Byrus down now. Byrus managing to make the move earlier on in the race, and Owen is looking to respond. They're trying to keep the gap tight, ready for the next DRS zone. As you see Liam, after 17 laps on soft tyres, finally pitting in. But interestingly though, we are still having drivers push out as hard as they can. As Owen is really trying to get the overspeed. Whoa, what has happened to Byrus there? A little bit of a disconnect, albeit briefly. Is pushing as hard as they can. Liam is going to go to the soft compound. Yeah, in fact, Liam is going to be going to the soft compound again. Interesting choice for sure. As we have a quick look at, say, Amir at the front, how are they handling themselves? This tire is showing a little bit of visible signs of wear, but they are essentially completely clear of the rest of the grid right now. It's looking very bright for our F1 Drivers' Championship leader. And we can see that they are continuing on the softs. And as much as I keep referring back to the tyre compounds, Amir is still sitting 1 minute 30s. Some real godly efforts from tyre conservation point of view. Jasper is now going to be the next to pit in here. I'm not sure if the rain is strengthening or whether it's coming off a little bit, but we're starting to see the track get a little bit shiny and glossy. So whether that's indicative of the track getting any drier or wetter, yet to be seen. Either way, these drivers are doing an outstanding job of holding it all together, as Jasper is coming out now with the medium compound of tyre. Looks like, though, we are going to have a little bit of a battle in the F2 League, at least, because Owen has managed to retake the position on Virus, and now these two are waging war for the lead of F2. And the Virus's connection is a little bit shaky. It's going to be a spin! Oh my god, it's going to be a spin for the chasing F2 driver. Very unsafe rejoin, but luckily there is ghosting. Oh dear, what a... Luckily they did not sustain, by the looks of it, any damage. Managed to keep it very contained. However, still a travesty for what was going to be the biggest battle at the front for F2. A little bit of commentator's curse, I believe, coming into play there. Now we have a battle on mediums for 7th place between Jasper and Joshua, reunited after a pit stop. They are all fighting with each other. So Amir is going to go on for 19 laps now on the substance, with Lenny and Cameron both simultaneously pitting. Oh, in fact, my mistake, because it's Frederick who is going to be continuing, not Amir. Minor correction. But there we go. That is going to be Jasper taking the run. Liam is going to say a 128.4. In fact, that is going to be well clear of a lot of the field in terms of pace, which is ridiculous, frankly. It's almost a complete second clear from the next fastest lap, which is astounding, honestly. As we see more penalties being dished out up and down the field, I do believe a lot of these positions will be decided by penalties, especially in the case of drivers, say, like Virus, because they still need to get a lap a few seconds clear, otherwise positions will be conceded for some drivers. They need to get clear in terms of timescale. Looking up and down the field, Liam is on an absolute push of their lifetime right now. So they have DRS as it opens, they have the compound advantage, they are quickly chasing down say Frederick, the last of the bastions on the soft compound. 19 laps in, some real tire conservation there on display. And as we head to the last 5 laps of the British Grand Prix, it's going to be a bit of a wobble from Liam. It's going to have to go wide, no choice, despite having the better compounds. They're not quite taking the lines they want. Looks like they're having a little bit of hiccups, a little bit of trouble. But they're a second out from Cass. Cass is, despite all odds, on the compound disadvantage, is managing to keep them out of DRS range. Even with the latent detection zone, they're still about a second away. Let's say, looking up and down the field, we've seen a lot of drivers fanning out by this point. A lot of drivers are really just trying to make their car just seek it out to the end of the race, keep it clean, not incur any penalties, and just take the car home, get some respectable points finishes to cap off the season. They're looking back, however, at F1, and to the back of the field we have Coop here, who was really sort of just trying to get out of traffic at this point. They've been stuck with the F2 cohort for a significant amount of time as they get the tail really wide there. Luckily managed to catch it, but still not looking good. And as we have been saying throughout the entire season, and say through some of Coop's previous performances, they do need to work on keeping the car reined in. We've seen time and time again, they are flicking the car. They are not exactly sending it, but still being almost overly aggressive where that control needs to be exercised. As you can see, they're just trying to make up the traffic and make up the pace at this point, where they have been stuck behind F2 for so long and they've really dropped off relative to the rest of the field. Frederick is making an interesting decision, is going to be pitting again, this time onto medium compound. But that is putting them right at the back of the field. I'm not sure what happened there. And we have a DNF. We have a DNF, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be Sam, as it looks like Virus also had a bit of an off. Not sure whether that was in reaction, but that is the final few laps. That is going to be a safety car call in the last few laps, just as we say that there is not going to be a safety car. There is a safety car. If that is not a curse, I do not know what is. But you can see everyone is now going to have no choice but to pack up and pack in behind the Aston Martin safety car, with Amir leading the pack so far. They're going to have, Cass is going to get a speeding of pit lane penalty, although Liam is also going to, looks like they had a collision. I'm not sure, did they lose any front wing? We had the penalty for a collision there. Looks like it's going to be a last lap shootout for the final round. Hopefully we have all lap cars allowed to pass, and we're almost going past the safety car there. The drivers are now going to be congregating behind, taking pit stops, taking free runs. Amir, of course, making the decision, having not long gone onto medium compound, to retain position, focus on that, as we wait for the rest of the field to now catch up and queue up. However, for drivers like Matt, this really is a godsend for them, because they will suddenly not be so far out of contention. And with everyone pitting in and getting fresh compounds for the last lap shootout, although not everyone has followed that principle. So Coop, for one, has been a driver who has in fact stayed out. Despite being on the oldest medium tyres on the field, they have opted to stay out and chosen to gain track position using the safety car as their greatest advantage. And that was, I think, really well thought out strategic play from that Alpine. Here we go, drivers up, all coming in behind the safety. Liam is going to be pitting again. I'm not sure what the thought process is behind this, but they are pitting again now. So they went on to mediums, and looks like they are switching straight back to softs. But I question that call, simply because everyone else has congregated behind the safety car now. So they are not going to be able to make all that track position back in what is essentially one lap. That will not be possible. So I really putting that call into question, if I'm being quite honest. We are potentially seeing a little bit of a throw from the AlphaTauris just when they had it good. I think we're seeing a little bit of a throw. As the last of the drivers start to catch up behind the safety car now. And see them all just trying to keep as much heat in the tires as possible. Keep in mind, we are starting seeing dry lines forming on the track, and the weather has not yielded. It is still raining, so drivers are going to have to be mindful of their grip, and we've seen a fair few slips. Even just queuing behind the safety car, they haven't got downforce at play. We have been seeing slips up and down the field. So there we go. Matt's not quite getting the advantage they otherwise would have had. Sort of being stuck in the safety car queue. Safety car is officially being called in this lap. As we come to last 2 laps now. It's going to be close. It's going to be a final 2-lap shootout, ladies and gentlemen. Let me see some hype in the chat for the final time in Season 14 of the PC Leagues for Invictus Racing League. F1, F2, all to play for. 14 drivers remain, 2 podiums. It's gone green. Away we go. Amir is immediately setting the pace. It looks to be very strong. So really just making the most of it. Making the most of the clean air. Looks like we've already got a yellow flag in Sector 3. Byros having a big mistake. Looks like they had a big off, and they are immediately relegated to the back of the field. We're seeing big driver change-ups. Liam is pushing hard and harder. We have got, say, Joshua pushing forward now, say, on the medium tires. Say, Matt's getting a penalty there. Coop not looking so hot. They're stuck between a fight between themselves and Owen. But Liam is on the inside. It's going to be 3 wide, and Liam is going to really just dip in on the inside, steal 8th place back from under both their noses. It's a brilliant move from that AlphaTauri there, and they're going to keep that momentum going as they are now chasing down the second Mercedes of Frederick. That gap is immediately closing 10th by 10th. You see it on the boards. Cass is also one who's going to have a big advantage on compound. As we look now, they are right on the tail of Jasper in the Red Bull. They're going to have the grip advantage. They got the overspeed by the looks of things. They're going to have the slipstream too. As we come down the start finish, the back straight even, they're going to just have the run. They're going to have the position on pure overspeed. It's brilliantly done from that Aston Martin. Liam is also going to be looking to make a move, but it's not looking like it's going to be done. As Matt here is fully ghosted out, as they're going to opt to drop back to the behind the rest of the field. Amir is now gathered a second, and as we head through to the final lap, it's going to be all to play for. Amir, it looks like they got a little bit slippery heading out turns 1 and 2. The wet really starting to set in there. You can see those dry lines formed on the track. Cass is chasing hard and chasing that McLaren down with a vengeance at this stage. We don't have DRS. It's all on pure pace alone. Lenny is going to dip to the inside before dipping back out. A preemptive defensive move, ultimately losing them a bit of time. Cass is going to really dig in here and try to stake their claim, make their mark. Byros and Matt both going into the pits on the last lap. A questionable call, to be sure. I think at this point they are just resting on their laurels and saying that they made it. And that's all that they could ask for at this stage. Cameron Lowe is also looking to be chasing down Joshua in that second AlphaTauri. Going to be pushing through the S's. Cass, are we going to see another overspeed heading through? It's a good line, dipping heavily onto the grass. They're going to have a little bit of slipstream. Lenny is going to be holding the line. They're going to be taking the inside, almost forcing Cass out, but he's going to stick it in. He's going to hold the outside, going to have to dip back. He's not going to make the move. We're coming up to the last corners here. Lenny is going to hold the inside. Cass is going to get significantly alongside. He's going to get the move. It's going to be second place, but the winner of the British Grand Prix is going to be Emir, and it's a last minute. Cass losing out on the penalties. He didn't serve the penalties as much as that race was as good as it was. They're dropped down to 8th place for not serving. Of course, it will be. All penalties are reviewed by stewards, but we see that massive battle only to be relegated. What a finale that was. That was down to the last corner, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, I need a breath after that. But at this point, we now wait for the last two drivers on track, that being Byrus and Mats, to finish their respective laps. Oh, what a race that was, ladies and gents. Right down to the wire. The pass was made on the last corner. And you can see a send for the Ferrari to cap off the session. Well, yeah, I need a drink after that. So Jasper managing to get driver of the day, well done to him. But there is your final round, ladies and gentlemen. And we come to the final time to the podium. Emir with another standout performance. What a way to cap off the Drivers' Championship and really just cement the dominance then with a final win, taking it home. And what a round that was. God, I don't know how to feel. I don't know how to feel. That was intense. But there are your final standings, ladies and gentlemen. So Cass, having seen the 8-second penalty, say for servings, and dropping unfortunately down to 8, despite the Herculean driving effort. So big winners from today have to be, say, the McLarens doing very well constructors-wise. Not sure if it will be enough to cement the constructors. It would be close though. But I guess for the final time, I have been Sappytron, your commentator. It's been an absolute pleasure for commentating for this league, and I hope to see everyone soon. Be that in this league, if we have a PC Season 15, I'd love to see you here, or whether I'm in another league, it would still be an absolute pleasure. Say it's been an amazing experience. I couldn't be more thankful of the team here at the league. I couldn't be more thankful, say, of all the drivers who participated. It really has been a pleasure, and I cannot state that enough. I say my first foray into F1 commentating, it's been brilliant. It has been brilliant, and hopefully this is only the beginning. But for the final time, there is no next round. Oh, I feel almost upset in saying that. But here we are. But here we are, ladies and gentlemen. So, just to make sure, if you do want to stay involved with everything that goes on here with the league, be that through our social media, be that through our website, if you want to join on for Season 15, which is being planned on the new game, being planned on F1 22, there's going to be some revamps to the league. There's going to be, say, we're looking at all sorts of, like, the sprint race format is being implemented, and we'll be looking at implementing that as well. Big things coming up, big things. And what a season than Season 15, which is kind of a big number. Kind of like it's multiple 5, multiple of whatever. It's a good time with a new game to introduce some spice. So if you do want to get involved with Season 15 in any manner, in any shape or form, or just get involved with the league, be sure to check us out on our website as well as our social media at Invictus Racing League or at Invictus Racing League PS or PC. And as well as that, if you want to get involved with, say, me personally, because I say, of course, I would love to continue casting, but I say I also am a caster and racer in my spare time for different scenes. So there is also my link as well to anyone who is interested, but I'm going to rest, and all the drivers in all leagues can take pride in the season that they've had and rest well, knowing that it's been a very exciting season. But for one last time, I've been Sappytron. This has been the Invictus Racing League, part of the Week Grid Rival. sponsored with gridfinder.com. And I will see you soon.